Hello, this is Pavel, and this is today's brief. Let's do it before the day starts. There are a lot of news, there are a lot of changes, everything moves fast. Let's process our thoughts, what it means for us doing technology, for our businesses, for our society. One thought I have after few sources like videos and articles I read yesterday is there is obvious pattern I see when how the model results and how the changes produced by the AI and how it affects the business portrayed in a form of collapsing value. If you listen to people, smart people, talking about the value is collapsing in price, they always position it as the good thing because you wake up and everything you was doing before all day long is now completed. Same on the company level. If we think that processing claims was the half a day exercise, and now we put it to the machine and give it exact instructions how to do it, it's easy to expect that in no time, and it's just matter of the function of the compute power available for machine, all of the work is done before the day even starts. I think the conclusion should be different. And I draw this from the any example I know in the past that as soon as the value collapsed in effort or price, it is stop being a value. So it's no longer value. So that as soon as it stopped being a value, customer, there was a lag. Obviously, when you take advantage of this, but customer eventually will stop paying for this. One thing AI is good at is just show us bringing to the surface activities we always thought is absolutely necessary for the business because of the effort we're putting in. And as soon as AI make it easier to do, we realize that some really necessary step to do. This is the always I use example of presentation because I was the one who was tremendously impressed when I started seeing the better and better presentation created by AI. And you would guess that company will be filled now with presentation for every meeting, for every communication, for every interactions with the client. But instead, you probably will see that the value of presentation goes down, especially if it's obvious that it's produced by AI. So as soon as the value goes down, well, not as soon, with the delay, the value goes down, it will be replaced with the new value. And we don't know yet what it is, but it will be. Imagine yourself a company that is building 20 years ago, maybe more, catalog of all local businesses. The effort that goes into creating this catalog and the business model and that anyone can call by phone asking the direction and you tell them exactly where the nearby pizza, depending on where the person is, or where the dry clean. And then Google Maps come along. And imagine you being that company celebrating that now you will be able completely stop collecting all of the local businesses information, compile them into the catalogs and creating the procedures, how easy navigate this huge catalog while you're on the phone with the customer, because you can find them on Google and tell to the customers while you're on the phone. How long that business will continue to exist? Not so long. So that's obvious. So the same moving forward, while we're celebrating that value of today is collapsing, drawing the wrong conclusion that it will be easier for us to produce this value, we have to realize it is in front of us. This is stop being a value. And because the whole environment is moving forward, so you have to follow up. You have to follow together with everyone so that it just becomes new expected service baseline. And you can't continue to do it manual because this is the level of service you're not going to get credit for. This is the baseline. So you're going to get credit, you're going to get differentiation in something else, but this is something that you can't fall below. And that line this is what we need to watch. Expected service baseline. This line is slowly moving up as everything is changing. And the obvious answer when you watch this line, so that you need to use technology to produce this level of service that is expected by the customers. Your competitors moving this line up, your customers are moving this line up. We all went into the business to provide professional services. We all end up competing on the customer service. So even if you're not in the e-commerce or retail, Amazon is moving the expected service baseline for any business. To wrap it up, every time people talk about or excited about the collapsing price or effort for the service to the value they deliver, you have to look behind that it is an indication that is stop being a value, and you cannot stack on this no value land. You need to move into something that requires, again, full effort to produce, because this is the only thing that your customers are going to be paying for. Another interesting angle, and I think we already touched it, is the paradox that we are creating machine to mimic how humans think and make decisions. And now we're getting to the point when machines start making human-like errors, misjudgment, or going in to make their own judgment, not what we expected it will do. Every new model, every new level of complexity brings up making the argument more and more loud that we need some way to validate, to constrain the model. So we never had this situation before, so that we need to constrain technology. So more often than not, we build technology and we knew the capacity technology will serve us, and that was the limit. So now we kind of are giving the technology with the much bigger capacity when we need for the tasks. So our goal becomes how to restrict it in the capacity to exactly execute tasks we need, because unless we do this, it goes off making own judgments, making own decisions. That's not what we ask it to do. With human moving into validating machines' work, not only we might surprise that when we called just check, it becomes more expensive in terms of effort and the resources we need than executing the task. But it also creates the probably new layer of understanding in operations of how to apply science for the quality of work. Probably transferred from the how we use it for human. For example, there is a famous Swiss cheese model that says that one check with the 95% verification creates 5% possible errors. But two independent checks with the 95% coverage only leaves 25% of the room for the error. And I don't remember exact numbers, but 3 creates marginal, probably 100% room for error, and it goes even deeper for 4th. So the checks must be independent, And they should not be sequential, should not be going from the one source of the checks. So independent, easy to do when you ask people to check. So it means they use their own judgment. When you try to program those checks, so you more likely fall into that so that it will not be independent. So that will be using the same criteria to check. So quality of work produced by machine becomes same but more complex task than checking quality of work done by human. Historically, we have a lot of experience with how to validate machine results when it was programmed by human. So we know the function, we know the expected result, we know how to program if it succeeds. But now when machines start making not mechanical but behavioral problems, so we stepping into that paradox why we try to move work from a human to machine in the first place. It is non-predictable. Our next idea is based on the conversation I had yesterday with a person working as a PM, how they are changing their flow to prioritize features and to do it effectively in the time when we have AI coming into place. Again, so there's a widespread agreement that it is much easier to build the feature than plan for it, have a meeting and discuss. So the instructions many company give is just go wild, create a feature, and see how it flies. But in the long run, it's obvious that it's not going to work like this. So there's only pool of features, and the technical burden of too many features or not used features, not used features as they intended. I work on the business side, so we do not create the commercial software. My experience is how to create the technological features for the company to improve operations. And my thought is, if we have a list of processes in a company and rank them somehow in a priority, that would be how time consuming they are, how important they are for the processing, might be some other factors based on rate of rework, might be for the same processes. But if we introduce new ranking factor for this, ease of implementation, that might slightly or might be significantly change the list when you be in order how you address those features, how to address these changes. What today might be quite significant effort for a feature that is definitely deserve the attention might be much easier to implement next year when the technology is going to be there. So let's call it low-hanging fruit ranking. And when you add this to the ranking of potential improvements in the process or operations or features available to users, you might see that we might clean up a lot of small requests faster. And by the time we're done, so might be some other not so easy to requirements will move into a low-hanging fruit category. And probably the last observation is that how we project the changes we make into the steps of the process to overall how our customers perceive the changes in the customer service. So there is a 60 years old mathematically proving formula that explains why company full of AI accelerated people can still feel slow to its customers. The customer's wasted job in the system divided by completion rate. And AI will only help to move one of those numbers. We might focus on how fast it is requires to reply to email and how efficient that step is, but without looking at it from the customer's eyes of how soon they get a reply, that might itself not be the metric to focus on. That's all for today. So let's move on with the day. So that's going to be busy, that's going to be exciting. And I'll talk to you